Hi everyone, and welcome back to this third and final video here in our labs where we are working with Google Colaboratory. So let's get back into this data. Let's hop back to the computer and finish this thing out. We ended the last video with step 4 where we eyeballed the imported data, right? So if you remember, we took the Excel file and we brought it into Colab here, and we also created a new variable in the sales data, which represents the invoice date. It represents the invoice month. And then we looked at it just to see, so far we've been doing everything programmatically, and you can't really see the data. And that's never a good idea, to keep yourself away from the data, to keep yourself far away from the data. So it's always a good idea to keep looking at what the data looks like after you do things. All right, so we eyeballed this. It looks pretty reasonable. Things are formatted as we would expect. But let's also look at it in some other ways. So let's add another code block here, and we can bring this down to the bottom, and we'll put this under what we just did. So I'm just moving the code block down. Sorry. Okay. So what I want to do now is I want to look at, you see how we have that order amount here? I want to look at the average, just to get a sense of, what are we talking about here? What are the size of the orders that this company is getting from their customers? So I'm going to say average order amount. I'm going to create a variable. Average order amount is equal to sales data, right? That table that we've just created in the prior step. And we're going to calculate this as the average of this variable order amount in dollars. So I'm just picking off the name of this variable. I want to calculate the average of this variable so that we can get a sense for what this data looks like. And then we want to actually output this and see what it looks like. So we're going to say print, and we're going to print this variable that we're creating. All right, so we'll click run or click the play button here to see what our average is. All right, so our average order amount is $5,451 and less than 1 cent. So this gives us a sense for, all right, what size, what's the magnitude of the type of orders that this company is getting. And we're not talking about a company selling a product that costs $1 million. We can see here that we're talking about a company that's selling something that costs maybe $5,000. All right, so it just gives us a sense of what we're working with. We should also look at the shipping data. So let's look at, we'll add another code block here, and let's do the same thing that we did up here where we said sales data head, where we want to look at the first 1,000 observations. So let's say shipping.data head, shipping, what am I doing here? Shipping data dot head, and then let's just look at 10 this time, right? So we're going to click the play button. All right, and so we can see what we're working with here. We have an order number field, a order date field, we have shipment number, shipment date, delivery terms. And remember, our goal here is to identify issues with sales cutoff. So sales cutoff, let's take some notes here. So it's sales cutoff testing. The goal is to ensure that sales are recorded in the appropriate periods. So, and one of the revenue recognition rules, which you learned in intermediate accounting, is that control of ownership needs to pass from the seller to the buyer. And in other words, the product needs to be delivered. Or in the case of FOB shipping point transactions, product needs to be shipped. So we can't record revenue, or this company can't record revenue until they ship the product. You'll notice in the shipping data, the delivery terms are FOB shipping. That means as soon as the seller ships the product to the customer, the product has been transfer of ownership has been completed, and then this company can recognize revenue. So in sales cutoff testing here for this company, what we're interested in is anytime we have a sale listed up here in the sales data, we should also see that the product that the sale is recorded for has been actually shipped to the customer. So we're looking for cases where shipping hasn't occurred or shipping occurred too late for this customer to record revenue in the year 2019. All right, so how can we do that? How are we going to do this? Let's start by getting a sense for how many shipments we're looking at. So we're going to add another code block. I'm going to create another variable, and I'm going to call it number, or NUM, unique shipments. And this is going to be shipping underscore data shipment number. And what I'm trying to do here is get a sense for how many unique shipments did this company have, so that when we start putting data together, we can assess whether or not we put it together in the right way. All right. So I'm going to create this variable, and then I want to look at this variable. So I'm going to say print number of unique shipments, and then I'm going to run this. And it looks like we have 870 unique shipments. Okay, now we have a sense for the average order size. So it's about $5,500 or so. And throughout this period that we're looking at, there were 870 shipments. So now we're kind of calibrated. Like if, for example, the reason why we do this, let's say we do some data manipulation, and after that manipulation, our data is telling us that the average order amount was $2 million and there were 1,500 shipments in the data. Now that we've kind of established this baseline, if we see that in our next steps, we're going to know that we probably did something wrong in our data manipulation and in our analysis. So let's, now that we've established these baselines, let's go ahead and merge these things. So I'm going to look at step 5 here is going to be to merge the data. Step 5, we want to merge together the sales data with the shipping data. We're going to put those two tables together. How do we do that? All right, so we're going to add a code block, and we're going to say create a new table, and it's going to be called merged data. And this is going to be, the way we're going to do it is we're going to use a function that's in pandas called merge, and we're going to merge the table sales data with the table shipping data, and we're going to merge it on the key variable, right? Remember, there's primary and foreign keys. We're going to use the order number as our key variable. So we're telling Python, match these two tables up and match them using this common variable that both of them have called order number. And how do we want to do this? We're going to left join this, meaning we are going to take the sales data table and add information from the order table, or I'm sorry, from the shipping data table to the sales data table. Now, if we were to do a right merge, we would say take the shipping data table and add to that information from the sales data table. So we're looking at these as left and right tables, and we're trying to put them together. The first one that you list is called the left table. The second one you list is the right table. How do we want to put them together? Do we want to keep everything in the left table and add stuff from the right table? Or do we want to keep everything from the right table and add stuff from the left table? So usually you want to do left, right? That's the most common type of merging that you want to do. And after we merge, we want to look at the data and see what it looks like. So we're going to say merge data. We want to look at the first 10 observations after we do this. So let's go ahead and run this, click the play button. Here's what we get. So you can see we have the order date, order number, we have the order amount, so all the information from the prior merge, or I'm sorry, from the prior table. And now we also have, you'll notice some of these are labeled with an X, and what Python did was it kind of appended this X at the end of all the columns that have come in from the shipping data column, right? So that you can distinguish between which field is coming from which table. All right, so we have the order date here, and then we also have the data for the shipping tracking number, the customer number, shipment number, so on and so forth. Okay. Now, it looks like everything, each observation was able to find a match in the shipping data, but let's see if there's any cases of there not being a case where there's something recorded in the sales data table where when we asked Python to find a match in the shipping data table, no match was found. Because that would indicate it was recorded in sales, but there was no shipment. And if there's no shipment, that means this company shouldn't have recorded a sale for that item. So let's create something called missing matches. And so this will be a subset of variables where there is no match, and therefore no shipment, and therefore no revenue should be recorded. So I'm going to look for the merge data table, I'm going to look for shipment number, and I'm going to look for cases where it is missing. And then I want to print the first 10 of those missing matches. But before we do that, I also want to sort them. So let's create another table called missing matches sorted. And I want to create that as missing matches dot. I want to use the function called sort values, and I want to sort these by invoice date or invoice number. Let's go by invoice date. That's fine. I'm going to sort it by invoice date, and then let's print, rather than saying missing matches, let's just say print, and we'll print the missing matches sorted. Nice thing about Python is there's a lot of autocomplete, so you really don't need to type much once you get going. This looks okay to me. Let's just change this to, I'm just going to, rather than invoice date, I'm just going to say by invoice number. I think that will be a better way to look at things and trace things back if we need to. All right, so let's click the play button here, see what it looks like. And so we have observations where, let's see what this looks like. So the first column is order number, and then we have order date and order amount. And you can see, it kind of carries on. So this is like the first couple of columns, and then we have the invoice month, and then we have the order date, and we can see, look, there's no matching information here. There's no shipment number for these observations. And so we now have a list of cases where there is no shipment to match what was recorded in the sales data, right? And so these numbers here are where they are located in the original data set. All right, so now we have, our final step here, step 6, is I want to just output this list so I can go investigate as an auditor here. So I'm going to say the final step, step 6 for this 3-part lab, is output a listing of recorded sales with missing shipping information. Close this, and let's add our final code block here, and this is very easy. We're going to say missing matches sorted, and then I want to say dot to Let's output it to a CSV file in case it's a large file. If we do it to Excel, if we output it to an Excel format file, it might be too large for us to open in Excel. So I'm just going to do CSV. I'm going to say missing. I'm going to call this file missing matches.csv. And then I'm going to say index equals false. And don't worry about what that means. It's just a sorting thing for the output. Right, so let's run this final item, and then we run it, and we are good to go. We have this file output here into our notebook. We could open this up if we wanted to, so we double click, and we can view this here. We can view it in Excel if we wanted to. Let's make this bigger. I think that's probably the easiest way, but let's resize this window a bit. Sorry guys. And let's look at 100. All right, so here is a complete listing of all the cases where we have something recorded in our sales data that is not appearing in the shipping data, and the interpretation of that is that if we have something recorded as a sale in the sales data tab, but there is no matching shipping record in the shipping data, the interpretation of that is that we recorded a sale for which no product was shipped to a customer, and if we did that, then we recorded a sale that should not have been recorded as a sale. All right, so there's 30 items here. We could also, if you want to, you can download this, open it up in Excel. So let's save this, we'll call it missing matches, and then we can open this up in Excel and look at it that way as well. So it's always a good idea to look at your data throughout this process, because one of the temptations in working with code is that all you need to do is type the code, and you don't really need to get your hands dirty in the data and looking at the data. And that's just not true. So you can see here we have the same listing. We have order number, order date, and again, these are all cases where there was a sale recorded but no shipment made to the customer, and they should not be recorded as sales. All right, this concludes our third lab in a series of labs where we started using Google Colaboratory, and you did it. You're at the end, and you have learned. You actually coded. Can you believe it? You actually went in there and coded in Python and Markdown, and you worked with data, and you did sales cutoff testing. You did all that. All right, so be proud of yourself. You did a great job. Keep working and keep a positive attitude. Let's go. Let's get this done. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.